My name is Dr. Henry Lustiger-Thaler, and we're here today with Mrs. Tzipora Waller. This is a joint interview with the Amud Eish Memorial Museum in New York and the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington. Mrs. Waller, if you could tell me your date of birth and the town that you were born in.
Yeah, I was born in 1926, the 22nd of August. Carlo was the name of the town.
Carlo is the name of the town that you were born in, and that is in Hungary.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your youth, your upbringing, your family, mother, father, grandparents.
It wasn't as easy as nowadays. I was living with my parents in a little village. We used to have a grocery store, and my father used to make something beside the store. He was collecting health food. The green, what they call it now, health food. Mm-hmm. And we were quite comfortable. We owned own house, grocery store, and as the family was growing, we were 5 children. My parents were very hard-working, honest, religious people. In the town, when we were living, only a few Jewish people were living there. And when Friday comes, Friday afternoon, they knew the store is closed for Shabbat. And when Shabbat went out, I remember the town folks came to our backyard to see how many stars are up there, because they know when 10 stars we were counting, then we can open the store. And they had what they want. We sell them everything what we can.
So the store was for the general townspeople, and also it was a store with kosher items as well for the Jewish people in the
not really kosher items, because we didn't have Jewish customer. We had only Christian people. So they never asked for, and we never had kosher in the store.
What were your parents' names?
My father's name was David Hirsch. My mother's name was Rivka Esther. They were hard-working, honest people. Everything for their children. And I remember when I was 6 years old, I started school. And there were no Jewish school, but to learn Aleph Beis, I went to Heder with little boys, and I learned Aleph Beis and how to daven before I was 6 years old. And I finished public school. I remember I was very good in school, lots of compliment. I was very good in mathematics, and the Christian children came always for advice to me to help them. And when Shabbat came and the teacher asked them their mathematics question, they didn't know. So I remember some of the children told me the teacher commented, "Oh, I know why your work isn't ready, because Magda isn't in school, because I helped them with the mathematics." And that's how life went on.
Did you have siblings?
Yes.
Tell me about
My-
them. Their names?
I had one sister. Her name was Mariam Laya. I had 3 brothers, Chaim, and it doesn't come the name, Avrum Yehida, the second, and the third, it doesn't come to me right now.
So you all worked in the store together with your
No,
parents?
they were small. They went to Haider. I was the only one who helped in the store because I was the oldest.
So when you went to Cheder, did you go with your brothers to Cheder when you were learning the Aleph Beis?
Yeah.
In the same class as your brothers?
The boys were learning in the Haider all their life, not mostly, and they had to go in the morning later to public school because there wasn't a Jewish elementary school in the village. So they went very early in the morning to learn Yiddish, and then later on in the public school. And they, because we were Orthodox, they had little pious. And when they went to school or on the street, the Christian children, they were happy to go to give a
Pole.
yeah. And because we owned the grocery store, we had lots of candies and chocolate, and I stole from the store to pay off the Christian children, and if they know that's Magda's brother, don't hurt them, because they were paid off by me.
You were a good sister. You were a good sister.
And I was a ganef.
But they're protector. A ganef, but they're protector.
In one hand, I was a protector. The other hand, I was a bad girl.
So it sounds to me like not a big Jewish community.
Absolutely.
And did you have a shul?
Yes, a very nice shul where in the middle of the village, all the people came every morning. I remember my father, every morning and every evening, 3 kilometers walking to the shul for a minyan to daven. There wasn't any car, not even a wagon to ride, not a bicycle. He was walking.
So it was a shul for not only your town, but other towns as well? Or was it a shtibel?
No, this shul was only for this town. Other little villages all the villages had their own little shul.
Mm-hmm. And your grandparents on either side also lived in the town?
No, they live quite far away. Mm-hmm. Also very, very Orthodox. My grandmother and my grandfather, very Orthodox. I myself wasn't feeling as much Orthodox because I was thinking at that time I was hurting more because I was Orthodox. That's what's my feeling at that time.
Because of the anti-Semitism that you were feeling.
But in that little village, they all knew me. Everybody knew me.
So tell me, your grandparents, if you remember, what did they do?
My grandfather had
On your mother's side, are we speaking now? or-
My mother's
mother's
side,
side.
yeah, they had a vineyard. They were quite well up. They worked, my grandfather was working in the vineyard. I remember my vacation was every summer to go to my parents when the grapes were ripe. They took it off and they made wine. My grandfather made his own wine. So that was the kosher wine. And life wasn't as easy as nowadays.
Did you have a lot of contact with your grandparents on either side?
Yeah,
You had a lot of contact with them?
normal.
Yeah.
My father's mother I never knew. The Zaidi was living in our village, and over there I can't remember if they had an old folks home. My Zaidi used to go every Friday to one of his children for Shabbat. One Friday, this son, the other Friday, the third Friday to the third child. Because in that village were living 3 sons for my grandfathers, my father's side.
So tell me about, in your town, and it seems that it's a town that there were, how many Jewish families were in the town? Do you remember
Which town?
You mentioned Ibrian.
Ibrahim, 42 families. I remember. And from the 42, they were maybe 38 or maybe 40 Orthodox. Only I can't even remember who weren't Orthodox.
Mm-hmm. So the sense of Yiddishkeit must have been strong in the town.
Oh, I remember every Thursday I have to take the chicken in the summer to the shoichet to shecht, and then bring it home, and I flocked it, and we made kosher the chicken. I even remember I made kosher the chicken, how we used to have a big pail for a half an hour to soak the chicken, and then we had a round something to salt the chicken for an hour. I remember those things a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Those are nice memories. Those are very nice memories.
Nice, but it was very hard.
Speak to me about that. What do you mean hard?
Because when winter comes, we had to have our wood to make the fire in our home, to make warm the room. It wasn't as easy. In the village, very few electricity was. We were fortunate we had electricity in our home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the families, 42 families, you must have been fairly close. You all knew each other well?
Everybody, I knew everybody in the village.
You had a good friend? Do you remember her? A playmate?
I don't know, but I was good with everybody. It didn't matter, and lots of gypsies were living in that village also. And I remember there was one gypsy girl, you know, they are mostly begging people. So one gypsy girl used to come every Shabbat morning to me to give her something. And when I can't forgive for myself, I gave, my parents were in the synagogue, in shul, and I gave for the gypsy girl always a handful of flour or a spoonful of sugar, candies. I wasn't such a good child to my parents.
But a child with a good heart. A child with a good heart. Do you recall the rabbi in your shul? Did he impress you, and did you interview him?
I can't remember a rabbi. I know the shochet. I know some people who were stramlich, but no rabbi. No rabbi.
Was there a yeshiva in your?
There was from a city came a man, a yeshiva Führer, and were but only a few, for a little while, a yeshiva. Cheder was there. But my brothers were too small in 44 to go away in a yeshiva. They learned in Cheder. Because one was just bar mitzvah and the other two were small. I was the oldest, 17, when I went to Auschwitz.
Before we go to that part of the story, you mentioned a few incidents that the difficulty of being an Orthodox young woman in a largely Catholic city, mostly Christians. What kind of anti-Semitism did you experience as a young woman?
There was a time, it must have been in 42 or 43, I don't remember the years. Like I mentioned it before, we had a grocery store. And then they took away the license from our parents, from all the Jewish grocery owner. You can't sell sugar and petroleum. And then it started for us the hard time, because if we didn't sell those two things, the Christian person didn't come to buy in our grocery store, because we can't buy from you, because then the other store won't give us petroleum or sugar. So our pernose went down. And we were 5 children. We had what to eat because we were in a village, and we had field what we gave out to people to work on the field for 50-50. 50% was theirs, 50 for us. So life wasn't pretty at all. If I tell those for my children or my grandchildren, it's unbelievable. When you were in the family, 5 children with parents, 7 people, and we had 1 chicken for Friday night and for Shabbat. And we were healthy. You know what we did? They came to visit our store for the cleanliness. So we had to pay up the janda, they call it, like policemen. They should give good report to our store. So we had to pay them up. We didn't have money, so we used to give, we had gooses, and their liver was precious. So I remember my mother picked that up, the beautiful goose liver, take that to the village doctor one Friday. The other Friday, take that to the gendarme station. That's how we paid them off. They should give good report for the store. It was a very hard life.
Yeah, it's clearly.
Imagine, we were 5 children, and we didn't have floors like here. We had to scrub them every Friday for Shabbat. And my mother, we didn't have a cleaning lady like here. My mother did it all by herself. What a hard-working woman with 5 children. Every Thursday night, we have to take a bath. We didn't have a bathroom. We had a big, big barrel where we take our bath. And we were clean, healthy. I never had any problem like a young child or a teenager. Health problem, never.
So the troubles with the effect on the Panusa, you're saying 1941, 42, that's when you were beginning to feel a change. And tell me, how did you experience that change? What, as a young girl, what were you hearing? What were you feeling? Things were different in 41, 42.
We didn't even have a radio. The next door neighbor had a radio, and she put it to the window. The village people can hear the news. When we heard Hitler was going to Czechoslovakia, how the people clapped their hands, they were happy, and we were never inside crying. It was terrible.
How else did life change in that very early period before 44?
Very, very,
What
very.
other restrictions were you experiencing as Jews?
We had, it came, I can't remember the years, when we had to put out the yellow stars. And it says, you don't have to put it out only if you are older than 5 years. So I had a little brother who wasn't even 5. So we didn't make him a yellow star. He was crying. He wants to have it. I was going out, and whenever I didn't see people, I took it off. I didn't want to wear it. I don't know the reason. Maybe they didn't see far away it's a Jewish person is coming. It was unforgettable.
It must have been a very, very strange experience to wear the yellow star in a town that you knew so well.
Mm-hmm. Imagine, my father went to shul with a yellow star. My brothers has to go in Heder with the yellow star. Far away you can see there a Jewish person is coming. I hope it never comes again.
Were there young men that were taken to the labor camps that you in your town in 41, 42?
Once came, my father had to go in a labor camp because he was still in his 40s, early 40s. My mother was visiting her parents, so I was the oldest child. I had to make the package for my father if he will be going to be taken away. I packed everything in, and he left, and a couple days later he came back, and my mother was home and was unpacked his package. And you know what? I feel it was beshared. You know what happened when I packed my father's thing? I didn't know what his things or my older brother's shirt or something. By mistake, I put in my brother's shirt and underwear for my father. So I think it was beshared he should come back 2 days later. And he came back and was with the family. We never knew what's coming tomorrow.
That must have been a feeling of tremendous terror in the house when this was occurring. Do you remember how your parents explained to you, how your mother and father explained to you?
It wasn't any explanation. We take it how it came. We had the same feeling. We were scary people. You know what I remember? It just came to my mind. One evening when we went to bed, around 12 o'clock, we heard a knock at our window. We asked, who is that? Though the man asked, we want you to give everything what you have, every money and everything. And my mother took all her 5 children to her, and he said, I have nothing to give you, and I won't give you anything. They said they were from, I can't remember what they called themselves, but it means like SS, young people. They just begging and asked us, and my mother said the same thing. I haven't got nothing to give you. And they begging for, I wouldn't say too long, for a half an hour, and we never gave anything, and they disappeared. We never knew who they were. We were afraid to tell in the morning to the village what happened, because maybe their son was between. We never went to the station to tell them.
It was terrifying. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
We're going to...
And unforgettable. I can picture it, to see my mother with the 5 children around her.
How old was your mother at the time, just out of curiosity, in her 30s?
At that time, maybe 40. Yeah.
And just to make it clear, your father at this time was already in the labor camp? Or he was?
Yeah, he was, but he wasn't there. He went, and a few days they sent him back, and then he was home with us.
Did he speak to you about his experiences or not, or did you overhear
Never.
anything?
We were never talking at home about them, about their experience.
So he was taken and he came back, and your father, and with his incredible nature, just wanted to make everything normal again, that he was gone and then he's back.
He never talked about that, why they sent them back or what they did in that few days, never. It was closed.
And then what happened? Tell me a little bit more. After your father
And-
came back, what changed?
And then everything was, I don't know, very hard. No pernuse, no, I don't even know what they took the money for, bread or meat. We had chicken and goose still in the backyard, so we took it to the Scheuchet and we tried our very best, but no new shoes or dress or something.
And when the community came together on a Shabbos in the shul, it must have been the conversation, the discussion, how difficult it was.
Probably they did, but I wasn't in shul, and when he came home, he never talked about it, what they discussed, except the last day on 44 Pesach. When Pesach, the last day, I remember my mother was washing the Pesach dishes to put it away for next year. And my father came in and he said, the German came in to Hungary. And tomorrow morning, we are not allowed to leave our yard, not our house, because the Germans are in the whole country. And the next day, what happened, every Jewish home had a wagon and horses beside their house. For what, we asked. You have to pack your things and you go and sit on the wagon. And we had to do what they told us to do. And we did, and they took us to a city, and the city was named Nyíregyháza, and there was the ghetto. We were put in the ghetto, and we weren't allowed to go out. People were allowed to come in. So some Christian people came in. I don't know for what reason. I don't believe they want to save us or they want something from us. Have no idea. But they were smiling and showing their good willing. But I don't know.
So the entire Jewish community went to Nyíregyháza.
Nyíregyháza.
The entire town of...
To a big yard. In the yard was only, I don't know how you say it, Sarah?
You could ask me.
Oh,
Yeah.
what they put when somebody died and they put a Metzive, a Metzive yard was the ghetto in the cemetery. They were the ghetto for us. We were there. I don't even know what we ate and how we got our food. I can't remember.
So there was no housing in the ghetto? No housing.
housing.
It was a Jewish cemetery, or was it Jewish?
It wasn't a cemetery, only where they sell the town.
Where they sell the tombstones.
Yeah, exactly.
Where they sell the tombstones.
Yeah.
It was a stone factory,
Yeah.
tombstone factory. How long were you in this area?
And then they took us, we were there around for 2-3 weeks. And then came somebody and told us, you have to pack all your things because we are taking you somewhere else. And they took us far away. We were walking maybe 3-4 hours to out of the city to I don't know how to describe, not a village, but where they, like a farm. And in the farmhouses, they gave everybody, every family a place on the floor, and we slept there. And I have no idea where we took some food. My mother went out to the yard to cook it or what we eat. I don't know where. I don't know. And then somebody, a Jewish fellow, organized for the young boys and girls to go every morning for a walk. Just we shouldn't sit a whole day. We were there for maybe around a month. Then they told us again to pack our things because they will take us away from here. They didn't tell where. And we packed everything, and from that farm we had to go to the city, to a station where the trains are going. And the train was there, empty, the wagons, not sitting, only the wagons. And we had to go in, and that wagon took us to Auschwitz.
Before we go there, I'd just like to just talk a little bit more about the ghettoization that you experienced. What was everyday life like in this ghetto for your family? I mean, you had younger brothers, and your mother was with them all the time. And
I don't even know if I can't remember if we had washing facilities. I can't even remember.
But even from a religious and spiritual element,
the men came together in the ghetto, put on their talis, my father including, and they davened every morning and every evening. We never heard at that time about Auschwitz, never knew what's coming tomorrow.
In the ghetto, so the men davened. Was there, when Shabbos came, were you able to make that day different, even in the horror that you were living?
Sure, we know when Shabbos is coming, and we kept even there Shabbos. You know what? My father used to have a little song, and he used to sing it for us, Yiddish, every Shabbos. Shabbos ist Teier, brennt wie ein Feuer, nur der kann so spüren, wer es Titzach Jiddisch führen. You understand that? Even there, we believe there is a Hashem and He is going to help. but didn't come for our parents. And I was the worst in the family, and I am the only one who survived. I asked one of my grandson, why is that I survived? So he told me a story what I don't want to forget. Hashem put us on this world to do good thing, mitzvahs. It's an experience. What I like to do, sometimes I go even to bakeries to visit somebody even older people than me. And I have the children, they bring me some goodies, and they are people who don't have nobody. And I have too much sometimes, so I am happy to give them. Like Rosh Hashanah came, I went to visit a 98-year-old woman. What can I give her? Somebody gave me honey cookies. So I told her, listen, Rosh Hashanah is coming. You have to eat sweet things.
It's very beautiful. That's very beautiful. I'm sorry, I took you back to the ghetto when you were talking about Auschwitz. Yeah. I want to just take you back to that moment where you are in the city and you're going into the cattle cars that were directed towards Auschwitz. So tell me about that moment. Tell me going in with your family. You were all together at this time, correct?
Yeah, all together. Yeah. I can't tell you too much because I don't remember. My mother used to say, till we are all together, it's okay. My little brothers, little, only in grade 1, 6 years old. And only sister, I don't even know how old she was. I was 17, so they were 13, 11, and so.
So you're all together in the train going to Auschwitz?
Yeah. The train was awful. Sick people, old people, no washroom, no toilet. I don't even know how we survived. We traveled, I don't know, a few days till we arrived. And when we arrived, we didn't know what it was, even then, or we didn't want to know, I can't remember. They opened the doors and they jumped down, and our parents, the German, helped. But there was always a dog, a big dog, a German shepherd, beside them. So we had to do what they tell us to do. And the Jewish is very similar to German, so we did understand. And we were all together till the selection came up. And I had an aunt. When we came down from the wagon, I was still with my family. And we had an aunt who had 6 or 7 children, and her husband wasn't with her. I felt sorry for her. I took away one child from her. She shouldn't have so much to worry. A little boy. I liked him very much. I hold his hand. His name was Avrumi. And when I came to the selection, I think it was Mengele, he looked at me and the child, and he put me to the left. I didn't know what the left or right. I went to the left. And in that moment, he grabbed me back, and he had said, "Is that kid yours? Is that kid dine's?" I said, "No." He took away the child, put it back to the left, and he pulled me back to the right. To me, that was a miracle. I didn't know what it means. I went to the right. And now I know what it meant. Imagine I was between the dead to the left, and I'm still here. So they took us to a big, big building, and all the girls, there was a man with a scissor, with a machine, cut our hair, took our clothes, and they gave terrible clothes. Our clothes was never ours again. And with no hair, imagine, I wasn't even 18, and no hair, nothing. And they took us, some of the girls, and they put us 5 in a row, and then they took us, then we learned later, they were called blocker tester. They took us to the blocks in Auschwitz. I was selected, and I was taken to Auschwitz, to the Seelager, it's called Seelager, and I was put in a big barrack like all the other girls, and that was all. Since then, I never seen my mother and my little sister or brother. The second day I was in the barrack, I heard somebody, a girl, called my name. My name was Roth, my maiden name. They called Magda Roth. She called us. So I said, "It's me." She said, "Go out, because your father is out by the door." I went out. I met my father in Auschwitz in the stripe thing, and I remember the conversation with him. He was selected first of all to clean the latrina. That's why they let him in. And he looked for somebody who belongs to him. So he said, "Did you see Mother?" He asked me. I said, "No." And he said, "Listen, if they ask to you to work, you should put up your hand right away. You are able to work. And you shouldn't look for kosher. You should eat everything because there is no reason no to look for kosher. You have to survive, eat everything. That's what my last conversation was with my father. And then when we came home, I heard about him. He was only 44 years old. He was selected to work. And a young man came back who was in the same place where he was. He told me his last minute from his life. He was so weak. He was lying on the floor, and he asked him, would you have a piece of onions? He told me he had a piece and he gave it to him. That's what he told me. And then he tried to eat it, and slowly he fell asleep and he passed out. And that was it. And I was a village girl, so you can imagine how I looked when I was 17, full of life, red cheeks, healthy. So naturally I was selected for work. And I can't even remember what I work for, not what I want, but I was working for them, not on a farm.
You were working in the camp?
Not in the camp. I was selected to go out to work. Maybe it was a farm, because I remember we used to find potatoes under the ground, and we picked it up and we tried to wash it. There wasn't any water, just to dry it and bite it, raw potatoes, and it was delicious. And worked hard. You know what I was working? Schützengraben, they called the German. I made the, I don't know, the Grieben, what they shoot out. I don't know how.
Gunpowder.
I don't know how. They German, they call it Schützengraben.
During this time, Mrs. Waller, this incredible assault on your very being, how did you get through it? What were you thinking as a young girl at that time? What was in your mind when your family is gone and you're doing this crazy work and there's death all around you?
I don't think I had a heart. I wasn't thinking absolutely nothing. I didn't think about. I was just thinking where I should take a piece of bread or potatoes or something. And one evening, because we have to stand Zählappell, and once they announced that who is going to help to bury the dead will get a slice of extra bread. So I was one of the first one. I put up my hand, I am willing to do. And I was burying dead people. I remember once I went into the thing what I grabbed. Why? Because I wanted to have the dead people leaves under her. I took leaves from the trees, put it, went down, fixed it nicely. When I put the dead person down, she shouldn't lie on the bare field. I remember one thing. It was December, and a woman, she had black hair. She was also digging, and she couldn't dig anymore, no kayak, stood and froze to death with the shovel in her hand. It's unbelievable, but I still picture it in my eyes.
And you were describing this most harrowing experience of burying the dead. And
You know what? If somebody is dead now, I can cry. I feel sorry. At that time, no crying, nothing. Like I was made of stone. I was working in that camp till January. One morning we woke up and we heard a German soldier stood up and said, "Whatever you have, put it on you, because we are going to walk. We are going for a big walk." So, okay, we went back to our place. We slept on the floor, 40 people, 40 girls around on straw. What we were covered, I can't remember. Imagine January, no heat, nothing. Maybe I had a piece of bread that was the most precious. I took it and I went out, and 5 in a row we stood and we started to walk. Whoever wasn't able to walk, the German soldiers shot. I was able to walk, and after 3 days of walking, we arrived it must have been a farm, because they put us in with the animals in where they are a stall, or what they call it.
stables.
Stables. It was a machaye, warm. You know, it was freezing in January, and we were happy. I even went to try to milk a cow to get a little milk. I can't remember if I did that or not. But when we slept there, and in the morning we had to walk again till late afternoon. We came to a big city. I can't remember the name, but I remember there was a big, where they put the prison in. How do you call that building?
A prison.
A prison, a jail. We walked in, it was empty. And we walked into the kitchen. Don't laugh at me if I tell you, there was big thing with food. I climbed in one, and I took a dish, and people were standing around, and I was in the middle. I give everybody, first I had my share. I remember there was yellow peas. I had full. First I had a little choir and the people around me. Then we went in the jail's room, we laid down, and probably we had a good night's sleep. In the morning, when it was light outside, we woke up and went out to the hallway. So all the girls were here, there, by the window in the hallway. It was first of all warm in the jail, and we didn't have to walk. And all of a sudden, we had a big voice, "Girls, we are freed." The Russian arrived, and one girl, you know, Polish or Czechoslovakian girls, they do understand Russian. And the Russian soldier said, "Open, you can go anywhere." And it was January the 25th when we were freed by the Russian. And it was announced, you can go out for a day, you can have free robbery. What do you think I went to rob? Essen, food. Some people were smart. They robbed jewelry or clothes. Not me. Me, only food. And that was almost the end. And one more thing, but I never told anybody, but I am telling you, even when we were freed, they were Russian soldiers who came to visit us. I had a Russian soldier who was so nice to me, bring me food, and for my friend. Maybe I shouldn't even tell. And once she told me something what it didn't apply to me. He told me where he's living and he was inviting me. I had my girlfriend. I wasn't strong enough to say, but I told my girlfriend, look at, he was invited. He told me where he lives and he was inviting me there. Please help me. They told me, don't worry, we will help. He was coming 5 o'clock, he made up the apartment. I never came out from my room, but my girlfriend told him she's sick, she can't come out. So I never saw him again, a Jewish Russian soldier. And he wasn't my friend anymore. So the world is going.
Where did you go after the liberation from the prison?
Where I don't know how I find my way, but I had always a few girls with me. And we went to train. We didn't know, you know, it was in Poland. We didn't know which one is going to Czechoslovakia, to Hungary. We went.
But you were trying to get back to Hungary.
Naturally. And somehow we did find it. I find it. And we were arriving in Hungary to a station. It was the Czechoslovakian border in the Hungarian border, and a girl was from this city. And I told the girl, if you go in the synagogue and you find a person named by this name, Herschel Klein, tell him a cousin survived, and if he wants to see, come to the station. She went away, and that girl, and an hour later, my cousin came to invite me to his place. He was my aunt's husband, but I didn't go to him. I wanted to go home to my village to see if somebody maybe arrived. I went home to my village. I didn't find nobody. Some goyim, they were nice to me. Some woman take me to her home, made me a nice fresh bed, first supper, and a nice fresh bread to eat. I wasn't thinking to go in that clean bed when I was full of lies. I forgot to mention, all the time I was full of lies. But I went, and Hashem helped me after to survive, and I am here with a beautiful family, with lächtige Kinder, beautiful grandchildren, great-grandchildren. So I believe 100% Hashem put me here to be nice to people, to be kind to people, to be good to people, because everything is how He wants it.
Mrs. Waller, we were speaking about you went back to your hometown, and you went back to your house, and the house was empty, or it was occupied by Hungarians?
They took everything. They emptied my house. Some of the people told me, Magda, go here to this woman. She has your beautiful handmade curtain. So before I went, I heard that woman said she shouldn't come to my place to have her curtains because I won't give it back. Better I make suicide, or I get rid of her. She was still an anti-Semite, very much. So I never went to see that woman again, and I never seen the things. And I never got back anything. I never looked really. I was afraid after this incident to look for anything.
And there were people living in your home?
Nobody was living. Mm-hmm. It was empty completely.
Mm-hmm. So where did you stay? You stayed in the house?
No, I did stay by a Christian woman. She, a few days, then of my father's brother got to know me. I am home in the village. And he sees an 18-year, I wasn't even 18, is not good to leave here a Jewish girl between Goyim. He took me to the city, to a restaurant who owned by a Jewish woman who survived somehow with her family, not with her husband, but her with her children. And I don't know, she paid for me or I was working there. I was there. And that woman had a restaurant for survivors who came home and want to have kosher meals. And once I walked in to her dining room, and whom did I see there? An other uncle. And when he saw me, he said, please come to us to live with us. Me and my uncle, my brother, we are 3 men in the house, and there is nobody who should cook or do something. Please come. And like a child, I always wanted to come to this place, to this uncle. And I went, and I was cooking really for them, and he was very nice to me. He bought me a beautiful material dress, and even a brooch, and I went to the dressmaker to make 2 beautiful dresses, and I felt like a 18-year-old girl life again. And I thought to myself, whom I am going to marry, I will marry only a rich man, because I haven't got nothing, only what my uncle gave me. And what do you think? What came? The poorest person in the city, and I married him, and I lived with him 16, I don't even know, many years. I had 3 beautiful lechtige daughters, and the rest is again up to the Beshefer. Beautiful grandchildren, great-grandchildren. I have nothing to complain.
We're going to come back and look at some of these pictures and also look at some of your grandchildren just momentarily. We're back with Mrs. Waller, and now we're going to be looking at some pre-war family photographs and then some post-war family photographs. Mrs. Waller, if you could speak about the individual here.
Yeah. I would like to tell you a miracle. I believe in a miracle, and what happened to me, it was a miracle. This is my sister-in-law picture in the concentration camp. You know, I was in Stutthof also, and for 5 girls, they gave 2 spoons and a thing what they eat in, like not like a plate they used to. And I was standing with 3 sisters. I was the 4th one, so I needed a 5th one. And the German woman came and put this little girl at that time to the 5th to me, next to me. And when they gave the spoons, she was at the end, so she got the 2 spoons, And she said, listen, I got the spoon in my hand, so one belonged to me. The other spoon belonged to the 3 sisters. So I was without anything. But she said, you can buy a spoon for 2 slices of bread. I will bring you 1 slice, and you put the other slice to it, and you buy yourself a spoon. So the young girl went away, and I thought, she won't come back with the slice of bread, because there wasn't any honesty in the camp. But what happened, 2 minutes later, the girl came back with a beautiful slice of bread. So now I have 2 slices. Now I can buy 1 spoon. I didn't buy a spoon. I ate up the bread. But always in my mind, all that camp's years, even when I was freed, I never forget to think about that young girl for her honesty. And the months went by, and whenever, I was living in the city when a transport came home from Auschwitz, I was still looking for that girl. I didn't know her name or what, but I thought if I will see her face, I recognize her. Never. When the time came when I met my husband, at home we didn't have a telephone. Every evening he came up to the place where I was living. One evening he couldn't come up. He sent a friend with a message. He said, sorry, I won't be able to come up tonight to your place because I just received a telegram. My sister is alive. I have to go up to Budapest to bring her home. So I thought, okay, one evening he wouldn't come. The next evening I was waiting for him, and when I heard a knock at my door, I went to the door and opened the door. What do you think? I met that girl whom I had the bread, my husband's sister. So don't tell me miracles don't happen, because it happened to me.
Remarkable.
They were living in Israel. We brought her here in Canada. She passed away, her husband passed away. Here they live in both beside each other in the cemetery, but it's an unforgettable, true story.
Remarkable.
And how did I forget?
Well,
I don't know to mention it before. That my mother, she was so frum. She not only wore a sheitel, only even covered her hair. We were strictly Shomer Shabbos, even at home. That's one of my little brother. His name was Avrum Yehida. Can't remember how old. He was around 7, 8 years old. Oh, that was my only little sister, a lechtige, skinny one. Mariam Laya was her name. I can't tell too much about her. She was young, little. Oh, my Zaidi, my father's father, I remember once saying what he said. You know, when I davened, and he was with us Friday night, I remember he told my mother, let her take up from davening because she made so many mistakes. It's better if she quit davening. A very nice Jewish man. His name was Moshe Roth. Oh, that I never met. He's one of my great-grandfathers. I don't know his name, but I don't know. One of them. I don't recall. Oh, that was my house where I was living in. It was quite nice, comfortable. No washroom at all. But nice backyard, nice field. Oh. That's how my life begins out of Hungary. We were living in Amsterdam, Holland. And this is two of my three daughters, Rivke Esther and Saradina, who is here. At that time, I didn't have money for a sheitel, so I wore a kerchief. But always trying to be on the right way. Trying. Oh. This is the boat, a Holland boat. Its name was Volendam. With this boat, we came from Amsterdam, Holland, to Canada. And you know who that is, me and my husband. So, me and and that was one Purim evening by my daughter's place where some of my family is here, my grandchildren and one of my great-grandson. I don't know who this is.
And here we have the last very beautiful family tree. Mm-hmm. And there you are in the center here.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
Very evocative tree. Very nicely done. All the family, all your family members, it's beautiful. Okay, well, thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you. I hope I did okay. I don't know.
You were brilliant.
Did okay.
Perfect.
You did more than okay.